Welcome to the state of Nevada's newest state park. This is Ice Age Fossil State Park, located on the north side of Las Vegas. It's at the very end of Decatur, very end. The road ends on the north side of town. And we are going to check out what kind of fossils they have from the Ice Age here at Ice Age Fossil State Park. It opened in January of 2024, so we're so excited to be here and check it out.
Just 20 minutes north of the Las Vegas Strip is an area known as Tule Springs that contains one of the largest collections of Ice Age fossils in the world. You can find it by looking for this large section of white rock on the north end of town. Now, these are not just any fossils, but this is a very complete collection of large Ice Age animals, like these. In 2014, Tule Springs Fossil Bed National Monument was established, and it protects over 22,000 acres. Now, Ice Age Fossil State Park is a 315-acre section within Tule Springs, and it just opened this year. Now, the first fossils were discovered in this area in the early 1900s, but in the 1960s, a large multidisciplinary collaborative expedition was kicked off in this area, and it's now called the Big Dig. They used heavy construction equipment to carve enormous trenches into the sediment. They actually carved over 2 miles of trenches in this area, and their findings were significant. With the urban sprawl of Las Vegas starting to spread into this area, the community came together to protect it for the scientific study for future generations. Now, this is the visitor center. This is a bright and shiny, brand new facility. And at the entrance of the park, when you turn in from the main road, there's a beautiful life-size sculpture of a Colombian mammoth. This is one of the animals that once roamed the area. In fact, there were herds of them found here. It was sculpted from recycled trash. Can you believe that the idea for this art piece came from a very talented 15-year-old Tahoe Mac who came up with this idea for her Girl Scout Gold Award project? She was teamed up with 2 professional artists, Luis Varillo Rico and Dana Albany, to bring this beauty to life. It's quite a stunner. After checking out the mammoth, we went inside the visitor center. It was pretty crowded. Since it's so new, there's lots of people coming by to check it out. You can learn what the land was like back in the Ice Age, very different from what it is today. They have some fossils on display, and you can read about the area's archaeological history. There are 3 defined trails to hike in this park. The first is the Megafauna Trail. We're going to check that out first. It's 0.3 mile loop. Then there's the Las Vegas Wash Trail. This is a 1.5 mile trail that begins and ends at the Monumental Mammoth. And then the Big Dig Trail is a 1.2 mile trail that begins and ends at the Trench K trailhead.
It's quite popular. There's quite a bit of people here today. So we're going to start our path today down the Megafauna Trail from the Visitor Center. Now, right now, we are here in February of 2024. They just opened about a month ago, and they are only open on Saturdays and Sundays right now, and it is $3 per person to enter. Now, the reason is it's brand new. They are learning the system, and they are trying to staff the park. And so once they get fully staffed, then they will probably open, maybe by the summertime, they'll have full staffing here. So of course this first path here by the Visitor Center is going to be the one that the kids are going to love the most. There are statues of all the Ice Age animals that inhabited this area. At each station there's a sculpture of the types of animals and then a little informational sign, so I'm going to show you all the different animals they're going to have on this trail.
We start out here with the dire wolf, which was noted to have a bite 30% more powerful than the modern gray wolf. This is Scots horse, which was a variety native to North America. And who knew there were sloths in this area? Giant sloths. This is called the Shasta ground sloth. And apparently they ate Joshua tree fruit. The American lion was 25% larger than its modern counterparts. Looks super scary.
The camelops is awfully cute.
Now, camelops I'd never even heard of until now. In case you didn't know, the Columbian mammoth was the largest mammoth to ever roam North America. And I didn't know that the ancient bison, this is one of the few animals that did not go extinct at the end of the Ice Age. That's very impressive. And of course, the saber-toothed cat. This is the iconic Ice Age predator.
Okay, now we're going to take the Big Dig Trail, Trench K trailhead, and hopefully we'll see some of the real fossils in the ground from the big archaeological dig that they performed here. And you know, they really need to protect this area from development. You can see all the new housing developments that are spreading farther and farther north here in Las Vegas. So I'm sure that's one of the reasons they designated this as a state park, to protect the area. This path takes you along the longest of the trenches that were dug here in this area. This is called Trench K. So as we walked along the bottom of the trench, I was looking for fossils and I didn't see any. I was really expecting to see things that were highlighted in the trench, and well, there's just nothing. I'll tell you a little bit about what I learned from a park ranger in a few minutes. Now here, they talk about reading the trench walls. They cut these trenches to examine the layers of sediment that are usually hidden underneath us. And so, there's the top section, which is the caliche. Nope, it's not, it's the dots. Gravel. Gravel's on top. The yellow, Unit C alluvium. That is the Pleistocene layer. Talks about it right here. And then you can see the different layers of rock, the red layer, the white layer, and then the gravel on top. So when you get to that intersection of trails, if you proceed forward, it goes along the wash, along kind of the bottom of the wash, and then you can see the different layers of soil, and there's supposed to be some interpretive signs down this way. If you make a hard left, it goes up over the wash, and then you have a good view down below. So we took the lower trail back, and they all lead back to the visitor center. And then you could have continued right and continued on the path a little further. We are short on time on this trip, so we're not doing the full trail, but we're doing the bigger loop along the bottom of the wash. In the cooler months, this is a great time to get out. So after we talked to the ranger about whether there were fossils here that you could see, turns out that once this area became known, there were people coming out after hours, poaching the fossils, stealing, taking things, and so now they don't highlight them because they just get taken or possibly vandalized. So in the future development of this park, they're going to build a building and a center that's humidity and climate controlled, so then they can start excavating again and they can preserve the fossils that they find. Now what he did say is that this state park was established, and then to the north is Tule Springs National Monument, and then after that you get into the mountains that is managed by the Forest Service. So from here north, the area is protected. Well, it's protected and managed by the government entities. It won't be built. There will be housing developments in this area. And here's a really cool spot where they really highlight the different layers of soil. Reconstructing a spring. Traces of ancient springs are found throughout the upper Las Vegas Wash. So the park ranger did tell us that where they had water and where the springs were located, there's a lot of amazing fossils. They were preserved really well. So this particular wash was studied in the 1960s, and they were able to date the spring in this area through this trench. They took samples of the soil, and they had samples of the Pleistocene pollen that revealed what was growing in this area. It was a very marshy, grassy area, which is really hard to believe given how dry and barren it is now. Fossilized plants were radiocarbon dated up to 13,000 years ago. So you can imagine on certain times of year when all this brush starts to bloom, it would be gorgeous through here. And then in the monsoon season, I guess these washes really fill up with water. But we are now headed back towards the visitor center.